Hello and welcome to another installment of the COVID-19 response report. Today is a Saturday, the 30th of May 2020, and as you know, Saturdays we bring you the week in review, the week that was. And this week quite a few developments occurred, and going into the new week quite a few developments will occur, and so we do hope you can stay tuned for the latest updates in that regard. My name is Jessie Leonce. I'm joined in studio by my colleagues on the Saturday as usual, Carlton Cyril, Mr. Tony Nicholas, and Lissa Joseph. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Good to be
all
here.
our listeners and viewers.
I just want to let you know the state of emergency has been extended. The Parliament approved this on, one on Tuesday, the wee hours of Wednesday morning, and the second on Thursday, extending the state of emergency here in Saint Lucia. And just want to open with a clip from the Honorable Prime Minister as he made his bid for this extension in the House of Assembly on Tuesday morning. Just an excerpt from the statement on the motion to Parliament to extend the state of emergency. Take a listen.
Mr. Speaker, the all clear has not been given. Our strategy has now shifted, and in the words of our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmar-George, and I quote, "Although at this point we have flattened our curve, as we lift the public health and social measures that were implemented to contain and reduce transmission, we anticipate the resurgence of cases with the opening of the borders, as most countries remain in active infection. Also, our population remains susceptible to COVID-19, so the risk of transmission once introduction occurs is likely. Our CMO further advises that based on the new current evidence, it is envisaged that we progress and move from one phase to another. It is envisioned that as we move and progress from one phase to another, we will experience recurring epidemic waves with continuous low-level transmission. Therefore, our efforts must ensure we maintain the waves as low and manageable as possible so as not to overwhelm our healthcare system. The CMO went further to advise this would require an efficient system to ensure the rapid implementation of measures which the state of emergency allows. This includes the curfew, the use of zones if necessary, or any scale-back measures. Governments across the region are working to balance public health protection with the need to protect jobs and our economies. To this end, Saint Lucia has adopted a phased approach to a new normal. Much of it is fluid and requires quick and sound decisions. It is evident that much of the progress we have made thus far was effectively achieved through a state of emergency.
We're going to get into some of the reasons why the government of St. Lucia did go to the Honourable House this week seeking this extension up until the 30th of September. If you're just joining us, we're starting off our programming with the extension of the state of emergency here in St. Lucia, approved in the Honourable House of Parliament for the next 4 months, ending on the 30th day of September. Continuing from the Honourable Prime Minister's statement in his bid to the House of Assembly on Tuesday, he did outline give a status update on the work that has been done so far in response to COVID-19 on island. And he did state that despite the many strides that have been made, we ought not to become complacent, and we cannot afford to drop our guard and return to our previous way of life. And we have been speaking about this, that there is no going back to the old ways. We have to find our space, our groove in the new normal. He continued to state that COVID-19 continues to ravage the world. We can no longer exist in a bubble. Safety, hygiene, and economic stability will be even more important in designing a post-lockdown world. We go to his second clip.
Mr. Speaker, the evidence for the necessity for a state of emergency is clear. This government has been responsible in our actions under the Emergency Powers Act. Every time we amend or adjust any part of the Act, every single time we put a new measure in place, we reported and informed the people of Saint Lucia. We explained why every step of the way. The recordings, videos, and constant reporting is available for all to see. The simple fact is the state of emergency allows us to move swiftly between phases, especially as the virus itself evolves. This would not be possible under normal circumstances. We can plan and be prepared for COVID-19, but all of us who watch the international news will observe that this virus is ever-changing, and we need to adapt accordingly. Therefore, our state of readiness today may be very different next week, depending on the effects of its impact.
So there you have it, the Honourable Prime Minister making a bid to extend the state of emergency in the Honourable House on Tuesday. And it has been so approved in the upper and lower house. Be it resolved that Parliament further extends for an additional period commencing from the 1st day of June 2020 and ending on the 30th day of September 2020 in accordance with Section 17(6) of the Constitution of Saint Lucia, Cap 101, the Constitution of Saint Lucia, extension of Resolution of Parliament approving declaration of state of emergency passed as statutory instrument number 60/2020 that extended the state of emergency for an additional period commencing from the 27th day of April 2020 and ending on the 31st day of May 2020. Quite a mouthful, but essentially just stating that our state of emergency has been extended for a second time, and this time for 4 months, ending on the 30th of September. Now, guys, a lot of people had their concerns. Why this extension? We're reopening our borders this coming week. People think, are we doing well? Do we not need to be under such stringent controls at this time? You know, and the Prime Minister, the government of Saint Lucia did put out a 15-point plan, 15 points explaining why the state of emergency was necessary at this time.
Well, and you know, among those reasons is that the World Health Organization, the Director for Emergencies, Dr. Mike Ryan, has warned against trying to predict when the virus would disappear. Now, I know in St. Lucia, we have gone on to, I think we're probably on day 28 or something of the sort of no new infections.
26.
Yes, so no new recorded cases of COVID. And so I can understand that we can perhaps fall into this false sense of security in the country, and it will be easy for one who perhaps is not paying attention to the details of COVID-19 to believe that we are scot-free and, you know, we can begin to now not wear the mask and social distancing is not happening anymore and that sort of thing. But this idea, Ryan also says that the coronavirus may never go away. And he adds that even if a vaccine is found, controlling the virus will require a massive effort, and that this virus may become just another endemic virus in our communities. I believe that. COVID is going nowhere. COVID-19 is going nowhere like the other coronaviruses. And we will have to learn how to, as they say, coexist with this disease. But I think the main point to this is that while we are trying to keep our economic health of the country, of course we want to ensure that the public health is not compromised either. And I think that the state of emergency, as the government has explained, would allow the government to do just that. So if you need to make that snap decision of having to shut down the borders again, having to impose another very stringent curfew, a 24-hour lockdown, if you will, that you can do so with immediacy, and you don't necessarily now have to be bogged down by procedural matters in doing that. So for me, Tony, when part of the comfort for me with COVID-19, when you look at the statistics, and I know this is often not the one that we go to first, we go to the deaths first. Yes, there have been 367,470 deaths recorded. But equally, we have 2,684,397 recovered cases. So it tells you that if we continue to do the right things, we can fight COVID, we can find a way to gain some form of control
Manage
over
infection.
yes over COVID, and try to ensure that we're protecting our livelihoods as well.
Yes.
So
Certainly, at this point in time, it's really all about managing ourselves, managing our communities, managing our families, and just ensuring that we do the right thing, you know, despite how we may feel about a particular protocol. And I believe that having the state of emergency in place allows for the enforcement of some of the protocols and so on. So, like we've been saying, we're not out of the woods yet, and no country anywhere in the world is totally out of the woods. It's a continually revolving door, if I may put it that way. We do not know where the end is. So it's just putting things in place, like you rightfully said, so that we are able to respond if anything changes tomorrow, next week, next month. We just do not know.
and I don't think, and when you look at the countries across Europe, even down in Asia, you look at the North America continent, Canada, the US, you can see that the countries, they are struggling, yes, with containing COVID. Those that have seen results like we have in being able to get it under lid and flatten that curve, the conversation is being had. And in fact, the conversation has moved into action about reopening borders, reopening the domestic economy, as well as opening up to trade and tourism and that sort of thing. And they are all planning, and you hear all of the officials say the same thing, that what we're doing, we're keeping people at the center of all the plans. If and when you were to have some resurgence, then what we do is revert to what we were doing before. Shut down borders, have the curfews in place. But the world cannot be at a standstill. It is just not practical to expect that countries will come to a complete halt. How will people survive? How many institutions, how far will the institutions be able to continuously give grants? The very countries that are suffering with from COVID are ones giving aid to countries like ourselves. How long will they be able to keep doing that? And we look at the IMF, World Bank, the other international funding agencies. Will they be able to give moratoriums to government or debt forgiveness as a matter indefinitely to countries? That's just not possible. It's not practical thinking to believe that we can do that. So for me, as I said, it's about being cautious about the way in which we're going to do it. But the reality is, it has to be done. It just has to be done.
And we need to take into consideration as well, as we try to find our footing in this whole post-COVID world, other countries, small island developing states who rely on tourism as well, are trying to find their footing as well. And coming out of it, tourism is going to be very competitive. I dare say more competitive than it was even prior to COVID-19, because everyone is looking for the tourism dollar to help them recuperate and recover from the effect of COVID-19.
And that's a very good point, Jesse, because let us not believe that COVID-19 is going to erase this competition. It is, everyone wants to be able to come out of the struggle and do so quite comfortably. So, and yes, the Caribbean islands are competing against us as well. OACS sisters, they competing with Saint Lucia as well, because they too want to be able to have the economies survive.
If we sit and wait, we'll be number last.
Et puis moi bien content Jesse ou dit assis dès qu'espérer moi dès qu'espérer pour ti chance pour moi même mettre des sous moi les ça qui a fait là quoi bon moi dit excusez-moi bonjour et merci pour tout le monde qui a écouté nous ici à headquarters COVID-19 en studio GIS NTN à son samedi bon matin jeudi c'est le 30 mai qu'on la coutume nous ka ba ou tous ces développements toutes ces informations nous ka présenter au pays là pour faire COVID expressement pour semaine nous avons chaidé ou peut-être pas tenir temps suivre programme là avec les samedis c'est les bagailles plus belles ici à des pour mademoiselle Lisa là et puis nous avec nous ni Tony avec Jesse avec moi well on nous dit nous presque assis mais c'est pour nous qu'a fait nous veiller belle. Là yo vini les samedi. Quoi c'est un bon bagay. Ça qui fait pour si maintenant, ou kay bien ça avant chaide nous qu'a coûté nouvelle là vini pour commencer depuis lundi nous te parler du parlement kay joindre avec nous te kay concite et parmi bagay qui était discuté c'est là vini pour plan gouvernement expressement là vini pour ajouter état de secours ou kay ça pour en l'autre 4 mois. Oui, 4 mois qui a commencé le 1er juin pour les 30 septembre. Parmi l'autre bagay gouvernement aussi te vle permission teni pour venir pour une permission parlement pour prêter plus pas passer 85 millions de dollars dans l'autre cas 29 millions de dollars américains là gouvernement teni pour présenter argument pour qu'il sa opposition et puis lever pour sénat là c'est moun ça teni pour mettre voyons là ça quoi nous a parlé bon matin là vini pour ajouter état de secours qu'on nous bien dit qu'il trouvé quoi ajouter pour l'autre 4 mois qui a commencé le 1er juin pour les 30 septembre. Parmi bagay le premier ministre a adressé kay concite parmi ces bagay là il fait bien clair c'est date que COVID nous gagne pour vivre pays. Même quand toutes les autres maladies, toutes les autres virus vermines nous gagne pour dire les pays. Et puis ça il fait il entamé ban nous raison pour qui ça gouvernement vini. Bon, il parlait en chai de libre, ça nous a adressé bon matin parmi bagay, c'est là vini pour faire assurer population, santé population yo protecté en parmi l'autre bagay. L'autre argument il fait qui fait bien clair, c'est tout temps nous en état de secours. Nous ka une assistance c'est docteur Cuba qui a assisté nous ici. Parmi l'autre bagaille, les vini pour assistance là et plan gouvernement pour vier mettre Saint Lucia à sous pied. Nous déjà discuter ça et qu'on lit ça même avec Jessica a dit. Les vini pour c'est pas nous yon qui en kawaii blanc, c'est pas nous yon qui en la terre. Là ni d'autres pays, d'autres côtés qui a mis bagaille en place. Et il y a ces bagailles là qui bien clair premier ministre l'a fait, c'est date qui les vini pour préparer qu'on nous pour les tout partout et ben les nous kay vier ouais tout le monde ka ouvert nous même kay dans position pour dire oui nous pas oui mais y en a ces bail là nous a dit ici qui bien clair là pas ni pièce date qui a matché pour dire ça c'est date là pour Covid et ben yo kay une raison pour Covid et ben Covid kay fini et ben nous pas kay une situation ça encore. Quand nous la continuer discussion encore toujours un plaisir pour nous ces gens qui a sur Facebook nous a dit bonjour ba yo ces gens qui écouter nous sur radio nous a dit bonjour ba aussi quand discussion ka continuer ici nous ka ou même kay écouter information ou kay mettre en pratique.
Thanks. You know, as you've mentioned, people on Facebook want to say good morning to Don Marie, who's always with us every Saturday. Thank you so much for that. And also, Shane in the group posted here that I think a lot of persons are scared, and that is understandable. And yes, we are in agreement with that, that there's a lot of fear. Fear of
we've always been acknowledging that anxiety, fear. Yes. So.
And we addressed that, and it's ironic that was brought up because yesterday we had as our guest Miss Naomi Granderson from the educator in the Ministry of Health, and she was saying, it's all well and say you're afraid or you're scared, maybe of the unknown, Manito Havai, Ishmael pan l'école, you got fermé tout partout and whatnot, but what do you do? And it was so amazing. She gave us that simple exercise, which she said, the breathing. Tony, we probably heard of it before, just inhaling and exhaling, you know, just as simple as that, providing the much needed oxygen to the brain and to the blood cells is a way of just giving you that little boost. And of course, not to mention, she spoke of getting persons you could associate with and speak to instead of just staying there and keeping it in. You know, it's like, moi là, mais c'est qui ça qui a fait, mi pays a fait, mais l'école, la pan l'école. Il dit, ou ça just prend l'inspiration. Chebe ça yon ka vie mette corps en l'autre bagaille dit c'est pour chaîne corps en santé manger bien prendre temps pour exercice faire travail au lit là parce que nous a dit nous ça comprendre moun kay paix bagay covid ça moun ka mort l'autre pays mais nous pas ni travail mi premier ministre yo ka parler dit toute qualité bagay pas ni glow mi hurricane ka vini. So it boils back to us being a community coming together, and of course the responsibility still lies on you as a person to find out, and she gave us that exercise to find out what are the good things. Instead of saying COVID, pani l'école, moi malade, man l'argent, merci bon Dieu, kay moi happy, kay moi peut-être, moi ni manger, bois kay la, moi ni jardin, c'est maman moi et puis moi, tous les jours nous aller en jardin. Find the things that make you uplift you.
But even as the media practitioner, as a journalist, you know, you constantly reading and keeping abreast of what's happening. I too have to be responsible in how I consume information, because I am finding that if I am solely listening to the number of deaths in a country, and you know how it is in the media, the headline is the thing to grab you. So when you hear that a country has had more deaths in a single day than any other combined,
if it bleeds, it leads.
Yes, and that does instill fear in you. That anxiety level begins to go up. So I try as much as possible to balance the information intake. So if I am hearing all of this, I now want to know what is being done to counter. Let me see what other countries are doing in terms of how they're managing. What are the success stories in other places? And even the success stories in our own land.
Yes.
So in order for me now not to become overrun with fear and I'm ready to go hide under the bed and never come out.
And this is why, particularly with our afternoon reports, when I'm on, we often try to highlight some of the positives coming out of COVID, you know, some of the new business ventures, what young persons are doing and what have you, because there's still a lot of positives. And even through human services, there are avenues for persons who may need that psychosocial support, need some intervention in terms of, you know, calming them down. Yes, the exercises are there. But again, we keep acknowledging that persons do have real fears. We don't want to just discount and say, oh, this is what the government is doing and you shouldn't be afraid, you shouldn't be worried. We need to acknowledge that there are persons out there who have those fears. They're anxious, they're nervous, they're uncertain. But hey, guess what? I don't think any one of us have the quick fix to any of this, have the one right answer. The situation keep evolving every day, every minute. But again, one of the things, like you were saying, Lisa, is sometimes we just need to, that downtime where we switch off. You know, when I go home after being here and being consumed with everything that's going on, COVID, when I get home, I try to move away from it. I try to watch something light on television, not watch CNN news, because I have it on my feed all during the day. You know, so you go home and you just try to detox, you try to breathe, you try to relax, and you just try to put yourself in a positive frame of mind. Hey, we're still here. We're still all very much alive. Yes, it may not be the best situation that we're in, but we're all in this together right now.
And I think too, as well, how do you now process the information? Because here in the Information Command Center, we give a lot of information on what's happening within our borders and outside of our borders. So now I think it's a question of how do you now, as the person receiving the information, how do you now narrow this down to your personal situation? So is that information one that I can use to advance my own position? So if we have perhaps, you know, the NIC on board and we are asking certain questions, find out how now can I benefit from that. Whether it is Export Saint Lucia, find out how can I benefit from that. And now it gives you that sense of empowerment where you now say, well, okay, if I do X, Y, and Z, I can access assistance over here, and now that can put me on a better footing. So maybe it has a way for me to now generate some income. So we take away that uncertainty. So it's important for us that when we consuming information, we find a way to really personalize it. How can I be affected by this information?
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. These coping mechanisms are very important at this time. Let's continue with the reasons for the extension of the state of emergency coming out from the Office of the Prime Minister. in his bid as well, he did state that there has been a high level of transparency, and you did mention, Lisa, that there's been a lot of information coming from the command center here, Information Command Center, and in terms of every week, every phase we come through, every decision that is made, every amendment or adjustment that needs to be done in the SI, it is always communicated to the people. And I think that can be a form of comfort for the population at this time, that every step of the way, everything the Operation Command Center does, you know, whether we like it or not, a suspension on the liquor license, what have you, it is always communicated to the public. Also in total, he stated that we have established approximately 15 triggers and 9 public health monitoring indicators, which form a solid foundation for us to monitor and respond to any COVID situation. Again, more comfort within the state of emergency situation that we are now in. The government of Saint Lucia has put in place triggers should we have to deal with perhaps another outbreak. At this point, if we have a cluster of 30 cases on island, we will have to revert to a previous phase. And of course, the Operations Command Center would instruct on how that would pan out. If it would be an increase in the curfew, shut down on certain non-essential services, what have you. And also, another reason for the state of emergency extension. We have the assistance being provided to us by the 113 strong Cuban medical team, and they are on island giving us support through the health sector. They are only in Saint Lucia providing us with this much needed assistance because of the state of emergency. Should this SOE be lifted, they will no longer be able to stay on island. So we are still in a very volatile period. Again, Lisa mentioned that there is no putting a timeline to COVID-19, and there are indications that this will become endemic to our environment. We'll have to live with COVID-19, and so especially in these early moments where we're not sure how we're dealing with COVID-19, our response to COVID-19, the Cuban medical team is very essential to our response right now. So just a few reasons why the Office of the Prime Minister has proceeded with making this petition and getting it approved in the Honorable House for the extension on the state of emergency. We just want to continue with the updates for the week. We have an update on COVID-19 from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, this time coming from the National Epidemiologist, Dr. Michel Fassois. And we got a few updates this week from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the latest coming on May 29th, that was yesterday. Our preparation for the reopening of our borders, as well as the number of cases the number of samples that have since been tested for the week. Up to yesterday, and we have now today, it is now 27 consecutive days that St. Lucia continues to record no newly confirmed cases of the virus. We have the national epidemiologist giving us the latest statistics, as well as a special word for individuals who are burdened with chronic illnesses, especially as we reopen our borders this week. Take a listen.
On Friday, May 29th, a total of 47 COVID-19 test results were received, with all the results in this batch being negative. This is now 26 consecutive days that St. Lucia continues to record no newly confirmed cases of the virus. This week, the testing strategy has been modified to target frontline workers, given the elevated risk of exposure to COVID-19. Thus far, all of these individuals have tested negative. The director of the Pan American Health Organization, Dr. Clarissa Etienne, this week indicated that the need for COVID-19 response in the Americas must have a dedicated focus on addressing chronic disease, given the burden of chronic illnesses. Dr. Etienne notes the urgency of maintaining actions to protect the health of people living with diabetes, respiratory and cardiovascular diseases from the new coronavirus. The Ministry of Health reminds every individual who has been diagnosed with a chronic condition to proactively manage their health. Do ensure that medications are taken as prescribed and there is an adequate supply to avoid missing a dosage. It is important to actively monitor your condition at home, as well as to access care services from your healthcare provider, whether public or private. By maintaining this level of vigilance, persons with chronic conditions are better placed to manage possible COVID-19 infection.
That was Dr. Michel Fassois, the national epidemiologist, giving us an update on our COVID status here in Saint Lucia. 27 consecutive days that Saint Lucia continues to record no new cases of COVID-19. And so we're very thankful for that, and we do hope we continue on with that streak. In the meantime, we are due for our first break for the morning. When we come back, we speak on the rollout of income support for non-NIC contributors and an update on the overall economic relief program. Stay tuned for that coming up, and more from the Information Command Center live.
And in the latest news, the coronavirus, or COVID-19, continues to be a health emergency across the world. Caribbean people are concerned.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. Don't discriminate, cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening. We're in this together. Yeah. We all got to work with each other. Yeah. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor.
Red Cross volunteers from across the Caribbean, working hard to fight discrimination. So if a person should feel ill, then they will contact the authorities without hesitation.
The most vulnerable are the elderly, but the truth is it can infect anybody. So what we need is solidarity. Everyone helping everyone like a family. So
this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. Don't discriminate, cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening.
People around the world facing this pandemic. Coronavirus have the whole world a panic. Now is not the time to be fearful, but to be careful, supportive and empathetic.
This is the state of the society. Some people full of fear and anxiety. Yo, a lot of fake news in the community. But what we need now is more love and unity. So
this is a message to the nation. Make sure you seek out the right information from official sources like the Ministry of Health, Red Cross and the World Health Organization.
Everybody know about COVID-19. COVID-19. Keep socially distance and your proper hygiene. Wash your hands then clean. Don't discriminate, cause it might be. It very well could be. Somebody will look like you or look like me. Listening. We're in this together. We all got to work with each other. Look out for our friends and our neighbor. And if you feel sick, don't be afraid to call the doctor.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, we are live from the Information Command Center from the GIS studios on NTN. If you're joining us online on air, please stay tuned. We're continuing with the developments that transpired during the course of the past week. We're looking at the week in review. In studio, myself, Jesse Leonce, Tony Nicholas, Lissa Joseph, and Carlton Cyril. We continue with the rollout of the income support for non-NIC contributors, and we got confirmation this week that it was being implemented. If you remember, the Honorable Prime Minister in his social stabilization plan announcement, it did state that individuals who were not contributors to NIC would also, who are affected by the impact of COVID-19 in Saint Lucia, would receive some income support from the government of Saint Lucia. And we have an income support video, yeah, Lisa? Talking about how this will be rolled out up to this point. If we could just go to that clip. Okay. So just to let you know, the Prime Minister, the Honorable Alan Chasney, announced in the Social Stabilization Plan provisions for helping those who have lost their means of earning a living from COVID-19 in this crisis and are not registered contributors to the National Insurance Fund. We did hear from the National Insurance Corporation that the level of support that was being paid to the NIC contributors. We heard from McNaughton McLean last weekend, the communications consultant, on what would be happening for those who are contributors. And at this point, we're getting word from the government of Saint Lucia how the income support will be provided to non-NIC contributors. That clip ready? Yep. Great.
As part of government's social stabilization plan to assist persons who have lost their means of earning due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the government of Saint Lucia has implemented the Income Support Program, where non-contributors to the NIC shall receive a monthly payment of $500 for the next 3 months. Taxi drivers, jet ski operators, vendors, agro-processors, tour guides, hairdressers, barbers, small bar and restaurant operators, construction workers, and other sole traders who meet the criteria can apply using the Government of St. Lucia's website, www.govt.lc. Payments will be made directly via electronic transfer to the recipient's bank account. The Income Support Program, simple strides towards recovery.
Just to let you know, the Ministry of Tourism will be the executing agency for this program. They will be responsible for receiving the applications, reviewing and verifying the applications, and presenting the approved list to the NIC for processing and payment. That payment will be made out of the National Insurance Fund. The initiative is part of the ongoing efforts by the government to assist affected St. Lucians at this time. The government has also launched, as part of its social stabilization plan, under this COVID-19 response, it's also launched the National Feeding Program and is providing tax incentives for businesses that continue to function and keep employees during this crisis. If we could just go to the first clip of the Economic Development Minister giving us an update so far on the NIC contributions so far that have been made out under the Economic Relief Program.
Mr. Speaker, presently, according to my information, the NIC total amount paid as of 23rd May 2020 is $5,396,063.40. That is under the assistance for unemployed people by the NIC. Mr. Speaker, the average payout per person is $935.36, and here's the breakdown. Total number of persons paid as of 23rd May 2020, 5,769 people. Applicants in receipt of relief of 1,000 and over, 2,573 people have received 1,000 or more than 1,000. 1,000 or over. Applicants in receipt of relief less than 1,000, 3,169. 45% of the persons paid have received over $1,000.
That was Economic Development Minister, the Honorable Guy Joseph, there speaking in the Honorable House on Tuesday, giving an update on the NIC's contribution toward this social stabilization plan, being the Economic Relief Program, giving the numbers so far of persons who have benefited from this income support initiative. We also have a clip of the minister speaking on the income support from the government end in terms of the non-NIC contributors.
Mr. Speaker, Department of Finance Income Support Program. Now, Mr. Speaker, for the Income Support Program, under the same loan facility that two of them have spoken, Mr. Speaker, and note their words, we do not support the resolution to borrow. So here's what they do not support, Mr. Speaker. The $24,193,800 that is to pay the people who are non-contributors to the NIC. And that includes the taxi drivers, the hairdressers, the preschool operators.
Now, this will be funded. What's coming from the income support initiative for the non-NIC contributors, it will be funded by a loan that has been approved in the Honorable House. That is an IMF loan in the sum of $29 million by way of rapid credit facility from the International Monetary Fund for the purpose of capital and recurrent expenditure. So that is how the income support initiative for non-NIC contributors will be funded. Just to let you know, this loan from the IMF is repayable at a 0% interest rate, inclusive of a 5.5 years grace period with a final maturity of 10 years, and semi-annually through a standing authorization to the International Monetary Fund to debit Saint Lucia's XDR account with the amount of all financial obligations to the International Monetary Fund for the Rapid Credit Facility loan as the financial obligations fall due. That was one of two loans that were forwarded in the Honourable House in Parliament this week. The second is Parliament authorizing the Minister for Finance to borrow by means of advances sums not exceeding $85 million from commercial banks for a period of 6 months from the date hereof, which sums shall be charged on and paid out of the consolidated fund. So that update there coming from the Economic Development Minister, the Honourable Guy Joseph, on the income support initiative under the Social Stabilization Plan for both NIC contributors and non-NIC contributors.
And I think it's important to note the second amount, Jessie, of $85 million.
Yes.
That's usually the standing amount, not the 85, but the standing amount is 55 million that the government would come to the House. So that, of course, is to meet recurrent expenditure of the government each time. And as was explained, the extra 30 really it's because of COVID, so they're compensating. One of the things that I appreciate greatly is that we do have certain members of the frontline workers who are receiving risk allowances as especially dealing with our nurses and doctors. Those are the respiratory clinics, Victoria Hospital specifically. And so, of course, that would, of course, be pushing that recurrent expenditure up into an excess. So, but, of course, as I said, for me, that is very comforting that we can have our frontline workers getting that risk allowance there.
Et puis, moi, quand on maintenant, c'est travail essentiel. Nous, Lisa, quand nous avons parlé de l'argent, quand discussion a continué ici, messieurs, dames, nous avons dit merci pour vous écouter, merci pour vous suivre nous, et vous avez cette discussion à présent, avant nous avons message là, Premier ministre, et puis honorable Guy Joseph, ou des cas, docteur Michel François. Et te ka ban nous information qu'on y pour faire Covid et puis yon nan se bagay là nous ka fait tous les jours les nous ici nous ka do combien cas nous ni et te ka ban nous information pour dire pour date 47 tests yo voué tout vie négative avec la dit attention à présent c'est à sous ces travailleurs essentiel yo ka mettre attention yo les yo ka test faire assurer yo bay ces moun ça test pour la peine ka dit nous ni pour changer nous ni l'autre vermine nous ni l'autre maladie nous pas ni pour oublier yo ka exister puis là qu'on attention yo puis travail yo pour faire ça aussi là parler de ça nous vier à sous discussion raison pour qui ça gouvernement vini en kay concite quand parmi bagay nous ka discuter à présent c'est date de gouvernement fait bien clair les vini pour décision yo ka prendre ça ka sorti hod centre commande là parmi moun qui a sous board c'est gens qui a pris une décision ça c'est CMOA l'année Jean Hod premier ministre l'année ministre responsable pour tourisme et aussi à sous board ça quand c'est moun ça compter bien temps nous ka dit c'est à constant en 14 jours yo observer qui ça qui a pris coup combien canoni qui manière bagay ja a passé et yo ka fait en décision en laisse ça pas ça seulement yo ka mener moun qui ni expérience là dans n'importe ce secteur n'importe décision qui kay point moun qui d'expérience yo ka mener yon dan pour faire assurer yo fait discussion avec yo veiller l'avantage là ben qui ça tout détail là avant yo bay premier ministre là conseil premier ministre fait ça bien clair un bagage qui bien important aussi avec nous tan Jesse Lomenoy là il vini pour qui ça qui fait nous vier ouais pays a délai en bas Disney dit temps en bas clé peut-être si nous 30 monde trouver ko yo testé positive ça veut dire yon bagay pas ka marcher bien quoi premier ministre fait bien clair pas dit temps nous ka aller devant il bien clair pour monde comprendre si bagay pas marcher manière supposé hier encore ça c'est raison qui a bay pour qui ça nous besoin ajouter à sous état de secours si bagay pas ka marcher bien qu'on nous pas ka préparer pour aller en 4e phase là nous peut-être ka ouais qu'on nous ka vie un exemple qui bay c'est si nous en durant des 14 jours nous 30 monde né quoi belle nouvelle bon matin c'est date qui Rodia ka bay 27 jours nous pas ni personne qui testé positive là vini pour Covid mais ça qui bien important c'est ça pas veut dire la panne Covid ça pas veut dire monde pas ni pour suivre protocole nous encourage pour continuer suivre les nous tant aussi pas du temps de gaver ouais honorable Guy Joseph te ka parler quand parmi bagay il fait bien clair c'est là vini pour assistance dans gouvernement kay bay c'est moun ça hot NIC et pour date il dit NIC j'ai payé à peu près $5 millions et là il dit à peu près 5769 moun j'ai joint assistance et puis pour la peine il a dit parmi l'autre bagaille en l'autre 24 000 ça c'est pour gens qui pas qu'à contribuer pour NIC c'est moun sa kay ouais yo joine assistance aussi quoi tout en discussion nous gagne ici à bon matin et qu'on ou bien ça ici à ces headquarters là nous ka faire assurer ou ça avec ou une information qu'on ini pour faire si maintenant qui passer avec expressement Covid merci tellement.
We await the word from the Ministry of Health and Wellness in Saint Lucia on the outcome of the 73rd World Health Assembly. We did hear from the Honorable Health and Wellness Minister, Mary Isaac, that it was going well, during the course of the assembly, it was going well up to that point, especially considering what we're living through globally, COVID-19. We did have the chair of CARICOM and Prime Minister of Barbados, the Honorable Mia Motley, making a petition to the assembly on the behalf of CARICOM for increased consideration as it pertains to resources being at our disposal to help combat COVID-19. Lissa, if you could speak to that a bit.
Yeah, and Honorable Mia Motley was very specific and addressing the needs of CARICOM, the Caribbean, as the economies are beginning to open. And one of the things that we would need access to testing, and of course that is the struggle the world over. Test. And what she's advocating for is for the availability of test kits, rapid test kits, especially, we're heavily dependent on tourism. So she's making the case for that, for the world to acknowledge that, yes, everyone is struggling, but in order for us to be able to survive in this region, we still need that assistance. And not just to pacifying assistance, but treating us as equals, allowing us to have access to all of the equipment that we will need in order for us to combat COVID-19. So let's hear from Honorable Mia Motley.
And if we're asking for the same solution for climate, for external shocks, as we are asking for the pandemic, it is because all three destroy our capacity to produce as nations and the ability of our people to survive. It is against this background, my friends, that equitable access and fair allocation of resources will allow our small states, particularly middle-income ones, dependent on travel, to be able to have access to increased supplies for testing, such that we can reopen our societies safely to intra-regional travel and thereafter to extra-regional travel. But it will also better allow us to ensure that there is a return to safe work by safe people the least vulnerable people to COVID-19 in our countries. While we can tolerate high unemployment and severe contraction of our economies for 2 to 3 months, the consequences to our societies of prolonged shutdown are as equal as the high incidence of COVID among our population. That is why we need urgently to get access to adequate numbers of the appropriate tests, in particular, the rapid tests that are affordable and reliable if we are to allow our economies and societies to reopen safely.
And Honorable Mia Motley, they're making that case very strongly for the Caribbean on being able to have access to what it would need most, rapid testing kits. She also advocated for the use of measures other than the gross domestic product, the GDP, to determine eligibility for grant and relief needs for the small island states.
Even when our circumstances deteriorate, there has been no review that takes into account the inherent vulnerability to which we are exposed and which prevents us from being able to access critical money or goods. In addition, the use of certain proxy criteria to access technologies, medicines, vaccines, or concessional funds and grants would exclude vulnerable countries such as ours in the Caribbean, some in Latin America, and even in the Pacific. Why? Because we are using criteria that are more relevant to fighting problems that have little or no relevance to our current vulnerabilities and challenges. For example, we are less than 2 weeks away from the beginning of the hurricane season. Tropical Storm Arthur has already formed off of the Bahamas, well in advance of that start. Many of us are already confronting droughts and the presence of sargassum weed as a result of the climate crisis, and it is wreaking havoc in our societies. But none of these challenges are captured by per capita income or by maternal mortality rates. None of them.
Honorable Mia Motley there making that case, which has been consistently made by Saint Lucia's Prime Minister, Honorable Alan Chastanet, about how the global community decides on the lending criteria for countries like Saint Lucia, where we do have particular challenges. And as the Barbados Prime Minister there correctly said, that all of those challenges are not captured in the GDP. So yes, you may be, and because we're smaller, and yes, the GDP per capita may be seemingly that you are a buoyant economy, but at the end of the day, poverty is still rampant. You still are unable to be on an equal footing when you are competing globally and being, of course, again, access to all what you may need in order to keep your, for public health and for economic survival as well.
And that call have also been made time and time again by Honorable Prime Minister Alan Chastanet when it comes to building climate change resilience in the advent of hurricanes and what have you. So that has been a consistent call, that we just want the playing field to sort of be level and not stacked up against us.
And we'll have to wonder, Tony, like, what will it have to take for the international community to begin to, perhaps, I mean, there have been some meetings and there seems to have been some shifting happening, but what will it really take for there to be that big recognition and action behind that, for us to be able to attain exactly what Prime Minister Chastanet and Motley are advocating, and others as well, that they're advocating for? Because, you know, we had hurricanes, Irma, Maria, that devastation through the Caribbean, up in the U.S. as well. So how much more? We under COVID-19, and we can see that we're certainly not again on that equal footing. So what would it be? What are the catastrophic events we must go through in order for us to be able to attain this very thing? So these are the realities of the realities.
Lisa, bien, moi content la venir en ligne de conversation nous tan hot honorable Premier ministre Babad me montli. C'est un argument à délai nous assez de siècle nous ka parler de but sou ni pour demander yon moun doit la vraiment la venir pour argument et ka fait qui ça il peut douan ça parce que là il ka parler à sou les nous arriver devant ces places là ces banques là IMF ces places ces institutions ça qui ka prêter nous l'argent. Ça moun pas savent c'est même manière nous même ni pour qualifier ben là aller acheter la remprêter on ni moucher papier on ni pour moucher ça on ni en parmi bagay c'est box ça et puis c'est place ça qu'a prend en considération c'est qui manière bagay en pays qui manière qu'a manager les affaires avec l'argent et qui a fait argument là il a les pour changer manière ça qu'a fait là ensemble et puis premier ministre nous honorable Alan Chasnek Jean Caricom yo a fait un corridor là qu'a dit il a les pour yo ban nous en différentes approches. Pas mettez nous ensemble et puis c'est plus un gros pays qui jani qu'on nous a dit coucho a bien fait nous parmi l'autre bagaille quand c'est ça nous ni pour agir et puis mais à présent il dit prend en considération saison hurricane nan ka vini ça pas veut dire Covid qui aller à sous côté pour quitter hurricane vini nous ouais ça il fait Dominique parmi l'autre côté manière là il vini qualité problème nan qualité destruction qui a fait quoi moi ka quoi argument c'est yon qui a tombé à sous bons oreilles là nous tan premier ministre maire Montli ka dit il quoi il c'est un bon là à présent pour c'est faciliter ça c'est place ça c'est banque ça qui a prêté nous là catchile à présent panique est-ce bagay bon pays nous mais pour en considération nous hurricane nous maladie nous bagay pas belle qu'on été caillé et puis ban nous bagay ban nous petit soulagement considérer nous qu'on anti cessé anti fouet pas plutôt pour mais nous qu'on maman et puis papa moi crois ça c'est un bon argument qui a fait là encore messieurs dames sous ka écouter nous c'est parce que nous avons visité tout ça qui passe en maintenant et quand parmi bagay et discuter avec baou information quoi nous ka parler sur Covid nous a parlé sur parlement gouvernement qui joindre en kai concite décision pour ajouter à sur état de secours et à présent nous parler avec nous tan hot premier ministre Babad qui a parlé à sur instance de Ikwe ensemble et puis Jean Caricom dat qui yo observer ces petits pays à différemment avec ben nous différentes approches là vini pour prêter nous l'argent.
Absolutely. We are just taking a look back at the week that was, but also being prepared for the week to come. You know, the first week of June, we'll be entering the phase 4, and that is our recovery phase. So we're just coming out of the mitigative efforts in the last few months, the last few phases of our response to COVID-19. And at this point, as per the word from the Operations Command Center, we will be entering phase 4, recovery phase, the full reopening of our society, the reopening of our borders, the resumption of tourism accommodation services here on island. And if you're not yet aware of the important protocols, very stringent protocols that must be adhered to by businesses as they are to fully reopen here on island by the first week of June, you can go on to the COVID-19 response.lc webpage, and you will see the protocols, the list of protocols specific for every sector as we go into this new normal with the threat of COVID-19 still looming. Again, the reopening of the borders, the resumption of tourism accommodation services. If I could just go to a clip from Dr. Michelle Fossois. She is the national epidemiologist speaking on the preparation that has been made so far from the health officials in response to dealing with the reopening of our borders and the full resumption of our society in Saint Lucia.
In the coming week, Saint Lucia will reopen our borders to nationals and visitors. In anticipation of this, a range of protocols have been put in place within the hotel and tourism sector to mitigate any potential risk of transmission of COVID-19. The Ministry of Health requests that all individuals adhere to infection prevention and control guidelines, including practicing the recommended 6-foot physical distance and wearing a face mask in public. For face masks to be effective in reducing infection, they must be used properly. We ask that everyone not only use masks, but use masks properly. Ensure the mask is clean before using. Wash hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand sanitizer before putting on the mask. The mask should be held by the ties or the loops only. The covering should be fit snugly but comfortably and allow for breathing without restriction. They should be washed before their next use. We encourage anyone who may be feeling symptomatic to seek care early, as this can prevent the worsening of conditions or possible complications.
That was national epidemiologist speaking to us on, when the country reopens its borders, we resume full economic activity here in Saint Lucia with the resumption of tourism accommodation services. If there was ever a time to abide by the protocols of washing your hands and using your mask and maintaining the 6-foot distance when you're dealing with people, especially out in public, it would be now to do so as we reopen our borders and resume with our society as normal, but not so normal because there are new things that need to be taken into consideration.
Jesse, I like to think of this reopening of what people say reopening of tourism industry. To me, I consider to be phased as well.
Yes, it is.
Because not every hotel would be able to open up.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes small properties as well, so large and small properties. You have those people who are doing Airbnb as well, that is included in the accommodation sector. So you wouldn't have full scale of operation from all of the players.
It's 1,500 rooms.
Yes, it's 1,500 rooms, and that could be spread across any which way. We haven't gotten a complete breakdown as to where those 1,500 rooms will be. But, we indicated last week that there are people who made their bookings and they want to honor those bookings. So they want to be able to come in. And if bookings, to my recollection, were probably those bookings at 43% thereabout. So we're not necessarily talking about an influx of visitors to the island. And certainly I would believe that with the smaller numbers, we'll be able to manage with all of the protocols, especially for the social distancing. And how you'll be able to manage that at poolside. Certainly on the beach you can. Our beaches are certainly spacious enough to allow for that. We know that there'll be no clubs for the hotels that would have clubs in there. There'll be none of that. And so there are safeguards that are in place and of course they must be adhered to in order for us to have that work. I know that there are other concerns. The testing of the visitors coming in, the fact that they have to quarantine, but they're on the property. Most of the properties in Saint Lucia are all inclusive, if I'm not mistaken. And so you can enjoy what's there. And for people who don't want to have that experience, then they simply won't come. And certainly by Saint Lucia opening up the borders, it's not by any means, to my mind, forcing anyone to come and saying, you must come. No, you will come at will. And I think I read where I heard Caroline Trebesco, who is the president for the Saint Lucia Tourism Association, and she indicated that now more than ever, you will really have responsible tourism. So for individuals who may not feel that they can adhere to the protocols, then they responsibly will take that decision not to come. And for those who are coming, then they will responsibly do what they need to do in order to remain COVID-free. So,
absolutely. And again, I don't think you're going to see a huge influx of persons traveling. I think there'll be a trickling effect. You have persons who want to test or have that wait and see. Let's wait and see how it works. And also we acknowledging that persons have real fears. Our persons working at the airport, taxi drivers, hotel employees, they do have real fears and real anxieties. We need to always acknowledge that. However, at the other end of the spectrum, you have the health officials, the CMO on the team having put in place all the best practices, all the protocols in place to mitigate any risk that might be associated with the opening or the reopening of our borders.
And so we simply must not forget. But there will be a lot to discuss on this issue on Sunday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m., panel discussion to deal specifically with the reopening of the tourism sector. And so all of the questions and concerns will be addressed during that panel discussion.
I think
Sunday night right here on
interesting
NTN.
to hear the discussion lead in the direction of what the practices, what the other islands have in place. Because it's not just Saint Lucia opening its borders in June. We have several other islands. I think I just read St. Vincent this week will begin flights, St. Vincent to Cuba. I just read that online. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes.
Until Sunday's panel discussion, Sunday night's panel discussion on how the reopening will work out, just want to give you some of the mandatory aspects of the COVID-19 protocols for tourism accommodation services. From the administrative standpoint, hotels must be in compliance with the Public Health Act and the hotel, guest house and apartment house regulations. Accommodation providers must identify a management team that will audit the COVID-19 protocol and SOPs with regular inspections to ensure compliance. Also, management must submit a list of all staff, copy of medical certificate, contact, number and address to the Department of Health and Wellness as part of this protocol. Accommodation providers shall report any suspect cases of COVID-19 to the Department of Health and Wellness. All guests on property must present a negative COVID-19 test taken within 24 to 48 hours of travel at check-in. Accommodation provider must institute a policy for allowing guests who test positive in country to extend stay, and management must enact policies on property to manage destination image and visitor privacy. So among all of the other players in this tourism resumption, we have very stringent protocols being placed on the hotel sector as they reopen. We know they're going to be wholly and solely responsible for the tourists as they come, as we've heard word from the Ministry of Tourism that the tourism experience will be a very cloistered one. The tourists will not be allowed to walk around, go into the communities and explore, and this whole thing of village tourism would have to be suspended for now in the interest of the population's health at this time. So the hotel, most importantly, will during the time that the tourist stays in Saint Lucia, will need to ensure that they meet very stringent measures before they are allowed to reopen and accommodate visitors to the island.
You know, we had but again, just quickly glancing through the chat online, the question again keeps popping up about the quarantining. So if you have a home and it's suitable and where you can completely isolate yourself after flying in, because we're only allowing the flights from the U.S. because, of course, the U.S. is open and the airlines are ready to fly from the U.S. So you coming in, if your home is suitable where you can completely isolate from the other people in your house, so you have the private bathroom situation happening, and you could completely kind of close yourself off from the rest of the family for the 14 days. As I said last week, I know that had been the norm previously. So the question would be, can you do this now? We'll be able to ask that question come Sunday. That will be answered completely. I don't want to say that I do believe that you can and then it isn't. But certainly,
definitely there will be an opportunity for viewers, listeners to put their questions to the panel, because that's been one of the queries we've been receiving, particularly with Saint Lucia nationals in the United States who are desirous of coming home at this time. So all of these questions and more will be answered tomorrow during the panel discussion.
There's also the point of guest compliance. And outlined in the protocols, the concern that, okay, will the guests stay in, and what security measures you have to ensure that the guests will stay on the compound at the hotel or what have you. And listed in the protocols, it states that guests are required to sign that they have read and agreed to the conditions and guidelines they would be required to adhere to once they are on island. So they're very stringent. I'm just reading, just excerpts from the protocols for tourism accommodation services here in Saint Lucia, and there are very stringent measures that have to be adhered to once we have our tourists coming into the Saint Lucia. I do encourage you to just take a look at it, peruse the documents on the website covid19response.lc for your own edification. You don't even have to be part of the tourism sector directly, but it is important to to at least know some of the important protocols and regulations that have been outlined for our health and safety here in Saint Lucia.
Give that website again. I think Quincy wants it.
COVID-19response.lc. So COVID-19response.lc. We continue this morning with the phased reopening of in-class instruction. We got word from the Ministry of Education the week before last that, and also the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the CMO, Dr. Sharon Belmar-George, that the education sector got the all clear to reopen. However, out of an abundance of caution, the Ministry of Education was proceeding with a phased reopening and starting with the reopening of school for the grade 6s and Form 5s. I'm talking in-class instruction for grade 6s and Form 5s. And that is supposed to happen this week, right, Alyssa, I believe?
Yes,
yes.
That's happening on Tuesday, which is 2nd of June.
Okay, so there you have it. We do have that happening this week as well. We do encourage you as you're about to send your grade 6 student, and just to let you know, the grade 6 reopening and the Form 5 reopening is to prepare the students for their for the national examinations. That is the Common Entrance Examination and CSEC, that's CXC. So the students will get a few weeks, about 3 weeks in preparation for these two very important examinations. And as you're about to send your child or your ward back to the classroom, we hope you can outfit your child with a mask. If you can, even put in a bottle of hand sanitizer to ensure that your child or ward practices good hygiene, safety practices as they return to the classroom. Hopefully we can get someone from the Ministry of Education to come back in studio this week to give us an understanding of how it will roll out, especially with the specific schools. You have some schools, primary, some schools that have more students than others. So we'll get somebody hopefully to speak to us about how the phased reopening of in-class instruction will pan out this week.
But we do have some questions that the ministry has circulated.
Yes.
A document. That's 25 questions, questions posed by the Saint Lucia Teachers Union to the ministry, and these questions of course represent what every parent and teacher is thinking and asking, and amongst those questions there would be, as you posed, Jesse, what would be the ratio of students to teachers per class or session in terms of observing the social distancing and the response. The Ministry of Health has recommended a safe teacher-student ratio of 1 to 15. Notwithstanding, numbers will be minimized as much as possible given the uniqueness of the situation and ability of individual schools to manage the numbers. Class size will be calculated to determine operating area. Seating will also be arranged based on safety protocols, and that goes to your point that some schools have more students than others, but the safe ratio there is a teacher to 15 students in a classroom.
Okay, I also see the question, what arrangements will there be to accommodate students of grade 6 and Form 5 who are unable to attend school due to limited financial means? And we're seeing the impact of COVID-19 being far-reaching. A lot of parents have been rendered unemployed, unable to really provide as they normally would have. Considering some parents and guardians have lost their income. We're seeing the response being assessments have been undertaken to identify students who are in need, including those who have become vulnerable as a result of the pandemic. Each school will indicate the needs of their students at the grade 6 and Form 5 levels. The department will provide transportation and food packages to the students. Through the Nutritional Support Initiative, parents identified in the above-mentioned assessment will be afforded packages of dried foods that can be used in preparation of meals. Students will be required to have a packed food for break. The instructional period will be shortened on the days Monday through to Thursday. Another question, given the peculiar arrangement in place, hold on, let's go back to the previous question. What counseling or psychosocial services will be made to available to students and teachers during the period of on-site education. We're getting the assurance that counselors will continue to provide necessary support to students, to schools in the on-site environment. For this period of time, the school population will be much reduced, which will allow for counselors to implement their planned program effectively. I think that's a very critical aspect, especially as a lot of families have been directly impacted by COVID-19. You know, children pick up a lot more than we think, you know, so hopefully they can be, you know, attended to in the requisite manner.
And just some of the general concerns as well we've been seeing, understandably so, whether students will be required to have their mask on for the full period. Again, the response I'm seeing is that the students would be allowed, like, intermittently to take their mask off, but practicing the social distancing. In terms of breaks and so on, those periods will be staggered. So you won't have all students having those breaks all at once. In terms of what is being allowed to sold at canteen, the canteens will operate in some schools on a limited basis, and only products in sealed packages would be sold to students. But parents have been encouraged to provide students with whatever it is that is necessary to take to the schools. We're also seeing that the schools will be operating from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mondays to Thursdays. Fridays will be out of it. So these are some of the measures, some of the genuine concerns I've been seeing that parents and just the general public having, the social distancing, classes being limited to one teacher per 15 students, for example.
And so, you know, last week I was saying that if you're going to spread out the students, then it means you would need to increase the number of teachers, and it will also mean that teachers who do not normally teach the grade 6 or Form 5 would have to come in to have that assistance. And that question was posed by the SLTU to the ministry, and the ministry's response is that principals will have to be very strategic in scheduling the program for the students in their physical setting. And well, that's for those who are teaching multiple forms. The timetable should be structured in such a way to allow teachers who teach multiple classes to accommodate this without any significant addition to their workload. And to the question, what arrangements will there be to accommodate the students who are unable to attend school due to limited financial means? Assessments have been undertaken to identify students who are in need, including those who have become vulnerable as a result of COVID, and each school will indicate the needs of their students at grade 6 and Form 5 levels. The department will provide transportation and food packages to those students.
Yeah, persons are also expressing concern about the sports academy with students having to be on compound. But it's been disclosed that the Form 5 students will be doing their CXCs. They do not reside on dormitories, so there's no need for any person to be concerned about these students being kept on compound.
And just to make a note that these are responses to questions posed by the SLTU, the Saint Lucia Teachers Union,
to the Ministry of Education.
From the human resource aspect, in terms of teachers, there was this question posed: what administrative arrangements or support will be in place for managing schools in cases of principals who are high risk, particularly in the case of primary schools where there are no appointed vice principals? And the Ministry of Education has responded that schools have always been advised to establish management teams, and these are in place in most schools. In the absence of a principal, a senior staff member or member of the management team may assist with oversight by the principal. Principals with underlying medical conditions can continue to provide support virtually. Also, the question: should it be traced that a teacher contracted the coronavirus at the school, what would be the responsibility of the employer, that is the government of Saint Lucia? The established protocols, that's the response, the established protocols for workplace health issues will apply in this case. Notwithstanding, Ministry of Health personnel will regularly visit schools to ensure that all health protocols are being adhered to in order to reduce the possibilities of such incidences. So there you have the assurance from the Ministry of Education that there will be some level of monitoring as these schools reopen to prepare the students for common entrance and for the CSEC examinations, making sure that all the health and safety protocols as outlined on the website for the workplace will be adhered to going forward.
Et puis là, moi, un chay a dit, moi, trois monde contre moi, Tony, Jesse, et puis les sœurs, on a vidé les moi. Nous briser, on mettre un petit aclété là, venu pour ça nous a parlé d'hier. Ou ça encore aujourd'hui samedi quand nous avons chaque information, expressement c'est ça qui est bien important. Ou quand ça nous a quitté phase 3 quand on en phase 4, là venu pour vie ouvert pays là vie pour bagaille calé normal qu'on nous a dit normal 9 là. Et puis là nous j'ai parlé à sous affaires de l'école qui est ouvert. Et aussi permission pour hôtel et puis l'autre place qui a fait accommodation par les touristes qui est ouvert. Discussion c'est un chay bagay jamais été en place. Parmi les bagages où ils savent pour vous voyager venir ici à la condition la caïni à bord c'est avion la caïni là où il ici à sous airport quand la fièvre la caïni c'est taxi et il y a ces bagages là nous toujours encourager moun pour faire c'est aller sur internet là où qui paie ou ça aller là et puis il y a une adresse là COVID-19 response.lc et là ni toute information according pour ça ou te kay vous devez savoir mais pour aller plus loin puis ça qu'ils savent là ni pour faire l'école qu'a vini si maintenant ou qu'ils savent l'école qu'a ouvert mais bien important l'école qu'a ouvert bah c'est maman là qui a fait common entrance et puis SCXC quoi là qui ça qui ja en place bah c'est maman ça parmi l'autre bagaille c'est question qui était posée par union et puis ça yo te vle savoir chaque conseil hod c'est teacher hod parents peut-être question ou même ka chile nous a adressé yon de ici yon ces questions nous pourquoi adresser n'a commencé puis à présent peut-être un chaque maman parents ka chile là vini pour plan pour glo ou kay bien savent nous dans état de soukou là vini pour glo et puis là vini pour glo question c'est avaler est la niglon c'est l'école là ça qui est fait pour l'école qui pas niglo et réponse là vini pour ça ministère a fait assessment et yo ka travailler puis wasco qu'on nous ka parler et décision yo ja fait assez côté qui pas niglo yo kay fait assurer la nitroc ka délivrer et glo et mettre bagay en place pour c'est l'école là vini pour côté qui pas ni et glo en l'autre question encore moun ka mandé vini nous adresser ici vini pour qui manière c'est maman la kay acide vini pour dans l'école là nous tend là encore réponse dans débat là vini pour maman qui acide en l'école qui manière yo kay acide parce que ou kay savent protocole national dat qui moun tien à peu près 6 pieds hod yon à l'autre et là réponse là vini pour ça là vini pour protocole là vini pour protocole ou kay ouais yon teacher pour 15 mamay mais encore information bien claire ici à date que l'an l'école kay trouver côté l'année mamay qui moins quoi yo kay ça mélanger c'est mamay là yo kay ça fait mais pour changer ça changer encore c'est mamay là ni l'école entièrement quoi c'est teacher kay ça agit quoi et changer c'est mamay là qui a vie c'est mamay qui a fait common entrance grade 6 et puis c'est mamay secondaire qui form 5 quoi c'est moun ça c'est yo qui kay vie l'école avant là il vient pour masse ou tonité adressé ça aussi pour masse moun ka dit pour mamay qui peut-être pas ça tient en masse pour mamay qui malade qui ça qui kay fait et puis c'est masse ça réponse là vient encore tant pour temps yo kay bay c'est mamay là petit chance moun qui pas ça tient dans les vidéos yo kay bay un petit chance un soulagement et puis masse là même bagay aller pour ces teacher ni teacher ni maman qui peut-être parce que premier ba yo te parler about aussi là ni pour faire moun qui vulnérable moun qui peut-être ni en maladie et qui yo plus vulnérable là vient casa ou kay ni pour présenter papier docteur et puis yo kay agir et puis ça yo kay point sans considération et puis quoi mais ou ni pour présenter papier à docteur pour yo agir et puis ça parmi l'autre bagaille aussi là vient pour manger c'est continent côté c'est maman là ka manger et yo a dit la réponse là c'est yo kay maman supposé mener manger yo et puis pas du temps laisse ça aussi maman qui passe à Fodi c'est yon nan ces questions qui monte là, yo do maman, papa, parents, pète travail avec ces maman ça ni pour venir et puis la ministre a dit c'est moun ça yo ni pour mener ça attention, attention l'école là kay pour information ça et yo kay assister parents là vini pour préparation à manger via l'école là et ben yo kay encourager moun pour mener manger yo personnellement mener manger avec point responsabilité pour ça raison pour ça ça kay qui là vini pour cantine yo kay ni moins activité pour préparer manger avec la pas kay nan raison pour maman assembler parmi l'autre bagaille quand ça c'est parmi ces questions nous ka discuter avec raison pour ça c'est parce que au pays a quitté phase 3 qu'on nous essaie ouvert et quand on en phase 4 phase 4 ça qu'a prend en considération l'école, hôtel et puis qu'a permis touristes entrer en place là. Quand information avec développement qu'a continué ici à headquarters COVID-19 à son samedi bon matin. Merci tellement mon que nous jamais été éclairé à sous en chaque question ou peut-être qu'a demandé là ni pour faire l'école.
And while you're on the phase opening and just to segue on a lighter side, and I need your backing on this one, Cokes. We have to remind the ladies that June is the Father's Month. You know, usually every year there's a reason why they forget us, you know? So we're hoping that COVID will not be the disguise, that they will use COVID and say, well, we're talking about COVID. So we want to put that reminder out there because Monday is June 1st, so we're going to June. Right? And on one of my programs next week, I will be having a program with Siobhan Bryan. He's hosting a series of webinars, Empowering Men webinar series, discussing young fathers, men building. So these webinars, the 6th, the 10th, the 13th, and the 17th of June, but you'll be getting more information on those webinars leading up to Father's Day, June 21st. Mark your calendars, ladies, remember that day, June 21st, Father's Day. We know the country is reopening sort of for us, so that we could have a proper celebration this year, Father's.
June 21st is Father's Day?
According to my calendar, unless I'm wrong, but I think my calendar says June 21st. So
okay, but I wonder
why.
But you say that women, the ladies, forget Father's Day. I wonder why that is.
I have no idea.
I want to know which ladies. Which ladies?
Tony, are you often forgotten?
What's on your plate and what you decide to take part in?
I'm waiting to be proven wrong this year.
Right. But who wants to remember? But Tony, it's simple. Who wants to remember the month of June? That signals the start of destruction.
Hurricane season.
So we want you all to recognize let me just put my little 2 cents.
Yes,
while it signals the process and the start of destruction and the hurricane season, we want you to just bring that
pain and suffering.
So Cokes, is that bring to light. Is it because hurricane season that they normally give us tools as gifts? Is that one of the reasons?
I think that is exactly what's happening here.
More work.
Put the brawn to work.
Listen, ladies in Saint Lucia on the panel here, let us not forget our fathers. We promise you, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Cyril, we will not forget you come Father's
Miguel,
Day.
our switch operator.
Moving along expeditiously, we are due for a break, our final break for the morning. When we come back, we talk about some of the capital projects that are on stream here in Saint Lucia. Again, stimulating our economy, considering our lifeline of tourism has been compromised. And also, tomorrow, the 31st of May, will be observed as World No Tobacco Day. We have the details to those and other stories as we round up the weekend review coming up in just a moment.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together.
Often use hand sanitizer. Better yet, use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for Saint Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. handshakes and hugging her. No, no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for Saint Lucia. Together let us win this war. Saint Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. We are coming to you from the Information Command Center live on NTN at the GIS studios. This program is essentially looking back at the week that was. In studio, the faces that you see on a weekly basis, myself, Jessie Leonce, Mr. Tony Nicholas, Ms. Lissa Joseph, and Mr. Carlton Cyril. We're in studio just going over the latest, the leading developments of the past week. And we've since seen the extension to the state of emergency being approved in Parliament, as well as the income support for non-NIC contributors being implemented and
being paid out from the IMF loan.
Being paid out of that. Yes, part of it being used to fund this this initiative, this income support initiative.
24 million.
In excess of 24 million.
Excess of 24 million?
Yes. Yeah. And also the reopening of the borders this week, the resumption of tourism accommodation services, the phased reopening of school in the form of the grade 6s and form 5s going back to in-class instruction to prepare for a common entrance and a CXC.
Well, let's slow it down here because I see someone inquiring about whether schools opening up. It's not the school year is really suspended.
We emphasize that this term of the academic year has been suspended, and we have spoken extensively on the learning from home term being this term. So all the students are learning from home, but there's a phased approach to the reopening where we have the form 5s and the grade 6s returning to in-class instruction. So if your child is in grade 2, your child continues with the normal learning from home. If your child is in kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, they all stay home. If your child or ward is in Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, and Form 4, they stay home and continue the learning from home experience that the Ministry of Education has put in place. Only the grade 6s and Form 5s are to return this week to school, and it's just to prepare them for the national examinations being common entrance.
Form 4s is what I should add, because
some
there are
Form
some Form 4s
that are sitting
CXCs.
Yes.
And very important, just to put that plug in there also, it's very important that we note that parents should keep in touch with their respective schools and teachers to get up-to-date information, because as it stands, just like you were saying, Jesse, and we are saying here, a lot of the children are already doing that e-learning platform. That will continue, and we re-emphasize that it's only those children, giving them this little period to prepare for CXC and of course for common entrance. Quand nous avons répété, l'école qui est ouverte, mais qui est ouverte by ces mamans là qui a fait common entrance et puis CXC. Grade 6 et puis form 5, ça c'est ces mamans là qui a vié l'école, pas du temps bagay qui a développé, nous avons information, mais bien important me dire ici encore, pour vous contacter l'école là, il ka attendre, il bien important pour contacter teacher principal là, et vous avez plus information directement, vous avez en contact et puis information avec ça développement qui a pris coup bien important. Contacter l'école là et puis teacher principal l'école là issue à attendre.
And just to, I don't even mean to lament it, but there have been some students that have fallen through the cracks of this e-learning situation. We did hear the principal from the Castries Comprehensive Secondary School stating that some of the children have not reported. If you are a parent, if you are a guardian, please consult with your child, consult with the school that your child or your ward goes to ensure that they are receiving updates and that they are doing the work that they're supposed to from home. Are we? We continue with this morning's roundup with the news that the government broke ground this week for the commencement of the shock housing development. This is a milestone that was first announced in 2003, this shock housing development. Just to give you some background information, in 2018, the government of Saint Lucia took the policy decision to enter into public-private partnership with local contractors to help create business opportunities whilst addressing the shortage of housing in Saint Lucia. To begin the process, a few weeks later, we had the housing minister, the Honorable Guy Joseph, hosting the first ever housing conference, bringing together local construction firms and stakeholders to discuss the new collaboration. What you can see there is just the vision for what the shock housing development will look like. At this conference, the local businesses were presented with 11 sites around the island, which the National Housing Corporation, along with the government, were earmarked for national housing projects. These sites include Choc, Leclerc, Rock Hall, Talvern, Bel Air, Bois-Joli, Angers, Larichous, Riverdore, and Canneries. So under this policy, local construction companies would be supported by the government by providing access to land, duty-free concessions, administrative support, and other forms of incentives provided under the Act. The developer, in turn, would bear the financial costs for putting in the relevant infrastructure and construction of the homes. So that is just an update that we're getting of the housing development initiative of the government of Saint Lucia. We're seeing ground being officially broken for the commencement of the shock housing development. Now, if you're interested in perhaps owning a home or a commercial plot for this on this housing development project, you can contact the National Housing Corporation for more details. I think most importantly at this time is, the launch of the capital projects right now in Saint Lucia, stimulating our economy. We did hear from the Economic Development Unit speaking on the stimulation at this time, it being part of the medium-term development strategy to try to help keep Saint Lucia afloat at this time. We know tourism is not doing too well, compromised by the effects of COVID-19. We're trying to recover, and these capital projects will augur well for us. We're also seeing the Spring Road Rehabilitation Project in Miku South. That's fully underway, as well as the Vanna Field project. Rehabilitation project is commencing. We've seen also the completion of the Jackmel Field, as well as the Blackstone Road. That rehabilitation project continues to progress as well. So quite a few capital projects under the Social Stabilization Plan, the Medium-Term Development Strategy, as indicated by the Honorable Prime Minister, aiming to try to stimulate the economy at this time.
If ever I questioned whether construction activity does anything for the economy, I would have been set straight by passing past the marshy side there, Larituette. The Larituette Bridge is now is under construction. And in passing, I looked to my left, and the house directly opposite, food preparation.
Wow.
Laying out there so that the workers, all they need to do, cross that road there, boom, go buy some food. Yes. And so I was set straight, saw it right there, that yes, that construction activity in the country. And that's just a little example, tiny example of what that trickle-down effect really is.
Absolutely. Certainly the capital projects are doing well for Saint Lucia. We're thinking about them being parents, some perhaps they were laborers were working in the tourism sector and not able to do so right now, and they're able to generate some level of income for themselves and their families at this time. And of course, persons making purchases in other which ways,
they're supporting their families, as you indicated, and so they too need the basics. They need food, they need to be able to have clothes and shoes and what have you. And so the economy really does get a jump start where construction is concerned. And of course, don't be purchasing of materials from local manufacturers and stuff. So it goes all round. It really does go all round.
Absolutely. And we round up our developments for the last week in terms of observances and whatnot, with the World No Tobacco Day being observed tomorrow, the 31st of May 2020. And this yearly celebration informs the public on the dangers of using tobacco. I mean, I dare say if no one is aware as yet, but the business and practices of tobacco companies, the dangers of tobacco, what the World Health Organization is doing to fight the tobacco epidemic, and what people around the world can do to claim their right to health and healthy living and to protect future generations from the use of tobacco. We did hear from the Deputy Coordinator from the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat. She's also the tobacco focal point for Saint Lucia, Ms. Joanna Joseph Henry. If you could just go to that clip of her speaking about this year's observances.
Preventing youth from industry manipulation and preventing them from nicotine and tobacco use. And this is really important because over the last year or maybe 2 years, we have seen a change in the tobacco products that are being manufactured, and the increased use of those new devices. We call them hookahs. Some of them are called hookahs, some of them are the electronic cigarettes. There's juuling, there's a whole lot of these heated devices that are being labeled and being advertised as safe to use and cool among young people. We know in Saint Lucia the use of those devices is on the rise among our young people, and so we are really concerned when we see the damage and death, lung diseases, etc., that have happened over the last year, especially in the States. We're really concerned about our young people, and we need them to know that no matter what it's advertised as, it is just that, an electronic cigarette, just as dangerous and in some ways maybe even more so than the traditional cigarettes.
That was Joanna Joseph Henry, the Deputy Coordinator at the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat. She's also the focal point for tobacco in St. Lucia. And just to give you some information, it is important to remember the day. Tobacco is one of the leading causes of death, where it is the only product when used directly, as she stated, will kill half of its users. And this year's focus is on youth. We're seeing an increase of use, not just the normal cigarettes, but also hookahs and electronic cigarettes. In terms of the hookah and the e-cigarettes, I'm not seeing such a great use of it here on island, but I know it's popular abroad. But like I was mentioning to Carlton yesterday, I believe it was, you know, you're seeing the influencers on social media, Instagram, using it, the e-cigarette, and it is important to begin to inform our young St. Lucians here on island before it becomes a trending thing here. You know, the CDC, if I could just reference the CDC, they began tracking cases of severe lung problems in people who vape, use the e-cigarette, and thousands had lung damage that needed treatment in hospitals, and several died from the condition. So eventually, researchers tied these cases to vaping. The illness is now called e-cigarette or vaping product associated lung injury. That's E-Valley or vape lung. So the e-cigarette was originally designed as a healthy alternative to the traditional cigarette, but it turns out that e-cigarettes, commonly known as vaping, has its own risks and very deadly as well.
And what one of the guests I had on the program yesterday, one of the nurses, talking about with COVID attacks your lungs. Mm-hmm. Cigarette smoking attacks your lungs. So we're discussing our health risk right now. Mm-hmm. So a smoker isn't at an even greater risk, you know, being susceptible to COVID-19 due to the fact that his lungs are already compromised and weakened, you know. So it was very interesting, the context.
Yes, you say that, Tony, and I'm thinking that when we hear cases of, because, you know, initially we were told that COVID doesn't affect, you know, the young people's quote unquote, but then we started seeing young people dying as a result. Mm-hmm. And then all of you know, now again, instead of this fear and start to say, but boy, we don't understand COVID, it's killing young people. But are we really doing the due diligence? Are we finding out, are these young people smokers?
Yes.
Because, as Tony correctly said, if smoking compromises the lungs and COVID attacks the lungs. So if you are in a compromised position, then I need not say that you will fall much easily to COVID-19. So that's a very, very important point that we have to consider among all of the other things that we have to take into account where COVID is concerned.
Just when we thought the mask was uncomfortable.
Yes.
You know, it goes
Yes.
deeper, much
It's
deeper,
deeper
than
than
that.
that.
Yeah. Just to let you know, again, World No Tobacco Day will be observed tomorrow, Sunday, the 31st of May. If we could just go to the clip of Ms. Henry speaking on the activities that have been organized for the observance.
I guess everybody remembers last year all of our hype and the action and the drama with the World Health March and the World No Tobacco Day March and the rallies, and it was really, really exciting last year, but apparently COVID had a different plan for us this year, so we've had to adjust and focus more on these sorts of activities, virtual activities and messages across, you know, other forms of media, social media especially, so that we can still get the message out. And so we can look forward to seeing some new ads out, and there will be what we call some Zoom meetings that will be aired, and a lot of messages going out on Facebook. So we would like persons, when they get the videos and the messages, to, you know, share, pass along. Let's all play our part this year in passing along the message, in us being aware of the dangers, reminding ourselves of the dangers of tobacco use, and being aware of the changes and not allowing industry manipulation to, you know, influence our way of thinking and you know, accepting that tobacco is okay, because it's not.
That was Ms. Joanna Joseph Henry, the Deputy Coordinator at the Substance Abuse Advisory Council Secretariat, also the Tobacco Focal Point for Saint Lucia. Again, we hope that you do take note, and if you are a smoker or feel any inclination to partake, we do hope that you think twice about it, because the implications are great. Again, we continue with the advocacy to reduce and to eliminate the use of tobacco, the very deadly tobacco in our neck of the woods. Of course, so just wrapping up the stories that have been for the past week, I'll just give the opportunity to Carlton to round up, summarize what we've just discussed.
Merci tellement Jesse. Merci pour kawiti et puis nous havini presse un bout programme bon matin. Quand la coutume sou samedi ça nous a fait nous a visiter tout développement, toute information qui peut-être nous ni et ben on même pas tenir chance temps et ben ouais et nous ka ba oui et parmi ça nous a dit à présent ka étant en chai parler de construction qu'a fait un pays y en a c'est exemple Lisabay c'est l'OV la ouitouette que yo ka fait pont et discussion c'est à délai nous attend les constructions et puis nous attend go building ka bâti en place nous ka dit qui ça ka fait mais nous ka bien changer en bas plan pour vier mettre pays à sous pied y en a c'est ba le premier ministre puis honorable Guy Joseph aussi des mentionner c'est date qui l'enlever qui manière qui assister économie est bien important pour savent date qui moun qui vient travail nous dans contracteur il travaille ni kaili là ni en boutique en commune yo ka mener manger en travail là ni moun ka vendre manger ba yo c'est place là ka vendre marchandise là ka vendre marchandise quoi en tout nous ka raison pour ka pousser toutes ces activités ça expressement les venir pour construction encore quand nous quand en phase 4 et quand nous bien savent les venir pour affaires touristes bagay pas quand marcher là même tout n'était bien dit là nous kay wè moun kay vini mais en compagnie moun kay calculer deux fois avant yo vini yo kay moins bon moi qui manière bagaille avant parce que nous ouais manière ou ni pour là ni tellement restriction avec là ni tellement conditions parmi l'autre bagaille nous ka ouais c'est projet ça quoi discussion c'est date qui ou kay on chay projet qu'a fait avec raison pour ça c'est pour faire assurer nous stimuler économie là pour faire et puis nous ka vier à sous pied as a résultat de Covid. L'autre information nous ka ba vite avant nous fermer ou kay savent demain si Dieu veut le 31 mai yo ka observer jour ça qu'on joue pas kay fumer tabac pas fumer tabac et influence tabac like manière ja évoluer ou ka observer à présent manière c'est mon ka servir tabac c'est unity by electronic yo ka fumer ça ça aussi ensemble et puis en l'autre yo ka met un vapeur dedans et c'est moun ça ka fumer yo ka dit toutes ces bagages ça ka en cause foi ou dommager est bien important nous ka parler du Covid qu'à présent nous ka dit demain yo ka observer qu'on jour pour moun yo ka essayer pour dire moun pas fumer tabac on la terre nous ka dit les vini pour santo ou un monde qui en santé wislan ni en lay vini pour hen Covid il pli wet pour hen ni yo ka dit sou bien manger sou en santé sou ka prend exercice il pli wet pour hen vermine kon parce que changer sou ka fumer il ka dommager en dedans espècement foi et là nous ka parler di Covid c'est ça il ka attaqué quand toutes ces discussions nous ramène bon matin oui nous aussi parler sur les 21 juin qui c'est jour papa avec les cinq j'ai cité dans chay pour dire mais nous on est qu'à faut changer avant nous fermer ici les 21 June les 21 juin c'est jour papa quoi nous pas expecter pièce pelle fac coûte là et rien comme ça l'année ça plutôt nous kay di motocar nous pas jamais hen nous kay les ouais pendant portrait et puis et nous kay expecter pour l'or nous kay expecter pour un chay belle bagaille avec mais en tout nous expecter pour c'est maman et puis c'est moun nous fait maman nous expecter pour yo changer nous avec Tony fait un bon argument là à sous mot parole ça moi ka dire bonne semaine bon week-end changer pour suivre protocole parce que il a commencé et pour Jesse
above all when the 21st of June comes we do hope that it continues to be the same streak of consecutive days that we do not experience COVID-19 here in Saint Lucia. Of course, we'll also be very thankful for that, and we do wish you all the best going into phase 4 of Saint Lucia's response to COVID-19. That is the recovery phase this week as Saint Lucia fully reopens and we resume our tourismic activities in a phased approach. Just to close, we'd like to thank you so much for watching. We'd like to, on behalf of the entire production team, Carlton, Tony, Lissa, myself, Jesse, we'd like to thank you. Reminder for tomorrow's panel discussion. Yes, Lissa, Joseph.
You passed it on to me?
I am.
The panel discussion tomorrow night, that is 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. right here. All of your questions will be answered regarding the reopening of the borders and what's going to happen with the tourism industry. Once again, all of the questions on the reopening of the borders and the tourism industry to be answered tomorrow evening, that's Sunday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m.
So please take note of that. And again, do enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Do stay tuned for more NTN programming. We are on standby. Just stand by for the address, a very special address coming from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Honorable Minister, Mary Isaac. So do stand by for that address in observance of World No Tobacco Day. Again, do enjoy the remainder of your weekend. Stay tuned for more NTN programming. My name is Jessie Leon signing off for now. Goodbye.
Good day, St. Lucia. I wish everyone a happy No Tobacco Day. As the world celebrates No Tobacco Day every year, I am sure those who have been able to quit the bad addictive habit of smoking have realized a marked improvement in their health and life in general. By giving up smoking, not only do you preserve your quality of health, but you also protect those around you from being exposed to secondhand smoke, which in some instances can be more detrimental to health and life. Also, you improve on your economic situation by saving the finances you spend on smoking. For those who are still addicted and social smokers, mostly our young people, I say to you today, you need to remember that you are not only exposing yourself to a very dangerous killer, but you are exposing others to a potentially harsh death sentence. Non-communicable diseases such as cancers caused by smoking is among the top 10 killers in the world. These preventable diseases are also a heavy burden on our healthcare system, as well as on families who in most cases are not able to afford to pay for treatment and care. So as I wish you happy No Tobacco Day, I am pleased that many people who have kicked the bad habit of smoking can celebrate knowing that they have the fortitude to do so. And for those who have not been able to stop smoking, I urge you to look to the theme this year, which is protecting youth from industry manipulation and preventing them from tobacco and nicotine use, to educate yourselves and reach out to the Substance Abuse Secretariat of the Ministry of Health, where you can get the necessary assistance. Have a smoke-free No Tobacco Day.